Well, South Africa has endured years of power interruptions, aka load shedding, and with winter approaching, many of us are likely to have to deal with that same frustration all over again. Now we're hearing that the Energy and Mineral Resources Minister and Department, in fact, is still now considering plans to expand into gas supplementing the shortfall from Eskom. Opinions are divided on the cost and indeed if the tender process itself is being done in a way that is above board. That is linked then to the story around car power ships, which we've been following quite closely in the last year or so. Let's talk about where we are at this point with Dr. Roland Ngam, Program Manager for Climate Justice and Socio-Ecological Transformation at the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation in Southern Africa. Always good to have you on the program, sir. Let's talk about South Africa's gas expansion and what exactly the Central Energy Fund is looking to do at this stage.
Well, thank you, Tembekile. The first thing is we need to get enough gas to supply the 3 car power ships that have been contracted within the Risk Mitigation Independent Power Producer Procurement Program. That is the first one. And secondly, remember that the Integrated Resource Strategy looks to bring in about 3,000 megawatts of gas capacity to the grid by 2024. And so all of that will require specific long-term contracts. And I think that this is, in a sense, what the minister is looking to do. At the same time, we have a South Africa gas master plan, which looks to tap into some of the gas that we have offshore as well as in the Karoo. Whether this is good for South Africa in general and for the African environment is something that we will talk about.
And how do we move ahead with the issue of gas supplementing energy supply in this country when car power ships, which the Minerals Department is quite adamant would like to see move ahead, that issue is still wrapped up at the moment in legal wrangling?
Well, really, there are a number of things to unpack here. The challenges that happened in court, I think most of those have come to an end with the High Court decision, as well as the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee deciding not to continue hearings in Parliament. And on the other hand as well, we have environmental documents that also need to be submitted, and also the financial close that needs to happen as well. And also Eskom has to sign an off-taker agreement with Car Power Ships SA. A lot of those things mean that it will be a while before Car Power Ship is able to deliver the 1.2 megawatts of electricity that is supposed to deliver to the grid. But then the process is ongoing, and it is difficult to see how that will happen because it was supposed already to have started delivering the over 1,200 megawatts of electricity by now.
And there's also been some reporting by the Amapungane Journalism Unit about how there could be a role to play by Gazprom, the Russian energy company, in bidding for these gas resources that the country is looking at acquiring at this point. That's not confirmed as far as the tender being awarded itself. But is Russia where we should be looking for that sort of contract given the current geopolitical picture?
And those are really the questions that we need to be asking. Should we be looking to Russia? Should we be looking at gas? Russia is more or less being cancelled by the entire Western world. This means that it will have a lot of gas to sell, but at the same time, the gas is still going to be expensive. South Africa, with its traditional relations with the USSR, probably is, and also within the BRICS alliance. I think all those things are going to play into where South Africa tries to get its gas. And also the fact that South Africa very traditionally has allied with the non-aligned countries and the non-aligned movement, and in choosing not to take sides. I think all those are playing into its decision to go with Gazprom.
I suppose another factor to consider, based at least off of the recent engagements between President Ramaphosa and his counterpart in Mozambique, where he said that Mozambique is energy rich and we could tap into some of those resources. How much energy would Mozambique be able to supply to South Africa, and as soon as possible?
Well, South Africa already gets some LNG from Mozambique. That is already happening, although very small. But then it will need to expand that, which is very possible, but also difficult, because remember that the spot selling of gas really happens and locks in people on long-term contracts. And so what really is going to happen is that South Africa will have to bid like other countries. With Total and Shell and so on operating in Mozambique, and with the EU looking to replace Russia, will also be competing for this gas. Mm-hmm. And so short term, yes, South Africa can get gas from Mozambique, but I think they have already done the calculus that it is far easier to get gas from Russia than from Mozambique, because of those spot selling contracts that probably are already ongoing.
And is there a concern, I wonder, Dr. Ngam, at this point in the energy sector or among the experts about security of supply from a country such as Mozambique? Because we know in the country's north there is still the battle with the insurgency there. It's an insurgency that is also influenced by economic issues, where locals say they've been left out, yet multinationals from as far as France are coming in to extract energy, and people, local communities, are reaping no benefit.
Yeah, let's remember that Mozambique has only slightly more LNG than South Africa in terms of capacity. So we're talking about 100 billion metric feet of energy, and South Africa, which is at 60 trillion. So it's more or less the same capacity, and South Africa is going to Mozambique really for the already installed capacity. And so we need to be asking those questions because we have that kind of violence, and the local populations asking for participation in those programs, and then not seeing that participation happening. And so a better deal, for example, would be to invest in solar. We have the capacity for solar, and so why not invest in that solar capacity, which is better long-term for the country and which will put more money in families' pockets. When you invest in a deal like car power ships, for example, about 300 billion rand, which goes to one company, which has very little local content, compare that with helping families set up rooftop PVs. That is a win-win for the country, and it does a lot for our consumer spending.